Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Young Partners Accelerator interviews with managing partners. It is my great pleasure to introduce you today to Heather Rosing, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and give you some detail about her firm and what her firm does and the size of the firm. Heather, please tell us who you are.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here today. I'm the CEO of Kleindienst PC. We're about 90 lawyers and we're throughout California with a presence in Washington State, Arizona, Nevada, and Oregon. I've been with my law firm 28 years. The law firm just celebrated its 40th anniversary, and I'm the second CEO. John Kleindienst is our founder. And in 2020, I had the pleasure of becoming the CEO right as the pandemic hit. So that was quite the challenge. So thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you. And Heather has sat on other panels that I've had the privilege of being a part of and all of that. So I know you're going to share some good information with our audience. So I want to start off with a very simple question. Well, maybe not so simple. When you're sitting around with your management committee or partner selection committee, whatever you call it, what are some of the things that you are considering when you're looking to promote somebody to the title of partner? And I want to specify not bring in laterally, but promote from within your firm.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think probably a question on the top of the mind of any lawyer who's in private practice. So I would say three things, Sharon. I mean, we have a whole big criteria document that has much more than three things. But number one, to make someone a partner, you want to know that they have commitment to the firm. So some degree of longevity, loyalty, that they want to be a part of you going forward. We try to cultivate people who want to be with us for the long term. So it's something very much that we look at. Number two, teamwork. We absolutely, do not promote, maybe some firms do, but we don't promote the silo, model. We want our partners to be working with other partners. We want them mentoring the associates. And we want them doing some type of other activity. It could be community activity. It could be committees within the firm. But we really want people who are engaged and interactive. And then the third thing, and this may be obvious, but we need people who are really solid lawyers. And the way that we kind of look at it is pretty simple. It's somebody who's independently able to handle a case for a client, whatever that case may be, using good judgment, excellent communication skills in a way that the client wants to come back and utilize us for their next matter.
I love that. All right. You never mentioned, it's very interesting what some other managing partners have mentioned, and that's the business development aspect. So I don't want to jump into that yet, but don't worry, I will come back around to that. I want to go back to what you said about investing in the firm or being part of the firm or feeling, dedicated to the firm. And you said working with young partners, young associates and all of that. Talk to me a little bit about the firm citizenship. What are some of the skills, the actual skills that you look for in somebody who you want to be a partner besides the legal substantive abilities?
It's a good question. So I guess writing would be legal substantive abilities. You got to be able to write to be a lawyer, and you got to be able to talk to be a lawyer. But I don't know if it's so much a skill, but we are looking for people who have a solid work ethic. And when I say that, though, I want to say that that's in the modern context. The solid work ethic used to be here at your desk in a suit, 8 a.m., you leave before 6 and you're scorned, by the rest of the people in the firm. And you better be here at least for a half a day on a weekend. Here at my firm, we've promoted a new model. Like a lot of firms, we have a productivity requirement, but you can do it when you want to do it, and that may be that you work out in the morning and you only work in the afternoon into the evening, or you take 2 days off because in the middle of the week, because you've planned your week such that you can accomplish everything you need to do in the other 3 days, or you work a weekend. We have a lot of remote workers now as well. And that kind of goes beyond the call of your question, but I really think this new flexible environment is pretty important for any law firm to adopt. We've adopted it for sure.
I love that. I love that. And everybody who's listening is going, "Oh my God, I want to come work for you." And I'm gonna to have you talk about that a little bit more because there are firms now that want everybody, back in the office. Talk to me about this flexibility. What has it done for the morale of the attorneys that work with you, productivity? Talk to me about how the flexibility has really, helped your firm.
So the one thing I would say is there's no one size fits all. First of all, it's not like you can say, everybody can work remotely or everybody, or for other firms, everybody has to be there. I don't think that works. I think you have to assess what works for the firm and the person in that situation. We have one lawyer I'm thinking of. I just complimented him the other day, full-time remote, and he's a wild success. And he has this whole thing with his dog and working out. Amazing. We've had other lawyers that have tried that and they become isolated and could even face mental health issues because it's not the right environment for them. We have some lawyers like me who like to come in. I come in every day because I love it. I love seeing the people. I only live 7 minutes from here. So we assess on an individual basis, and it's a privilege that we grant people if they want the remote working. But because we've kind of fallen into the right patterns with our people, it's been pretty successful. I will also say we also now have real estate is very expensive for law firms. So we now have, for people who don't come in all the time, maybe only a day a week or whatever, we have hoteling arrangements. So you could always come in. There's always an office for you here. And we encourage you to come in for sure. We want everybody, there's a couple of exceptions like the one guy, but we want everybody to come in and interact from time to time. And there will always be a space for you through our hoteling office system. It's pretty cool. We put a lot of time and effort and money into it.
No, I'm going to have to interview you and just do that as a conversation because I think it's
That's
fascinating.
right.
But thinking about this guy with the dog who's fully remote, what does he do? And this leads into my question about business development, being fully remote and business development. And you didn't list it as one of the three that you shared, but you said you had other criteria on your list as well. Where does business development skills fall into that, or business development aptitude? What are you looking for when you're promoting somebody in the area of business development?
It's true. In some way, shape, or form, you have to be a business developer to be a partner. But how that is defined, I think, is a lot different than it was 30 years ago. 30 years ago, it was like you originated a book of business and you went out and you got this client and they're your client. Now, we find, and many firms find, that much of your business is repeat business. And, talented lawyers can help you cultivate the repeat business. So, for example, one form of business development is simply taking the lead on a case, doing a great job. This is an existing client of the firm. It wasn't your client in the first instance, but spending time with that person, bringing in the next case. And for that next case that you've brought in, even though it wasn't your client from the get-go, you will get a certain type of credit within our firm that allows you to qualify for out to meet with the client, take them to dinner. But I'll tell you, it's changed, Sharon. It is no longer, like people want fancy dinners and, golfing outings. I mean, that's done, but a lot less. And, frankly, women, I think, used to be at a disadvantage because, certainly 30 years ago, business development was largely a good old boys network, and you had to kind of fit in with the drinking and the golf and so forth and so on. But now people really want to, they're really concentrated on your skill and quality as a lawyer. So I think a lot of business development these days is done not only through your case handling, as I just mentioned a second ago, but by going to substantive conferences in your industry, speaking on panels so people get to see you, writing in trade publications, showing people that you're a leader in your particular niche of the law.
Yes, I love that. Being considered a thought leader is so critical, and it really credentials you for your clients and for the firm and all of that. I don't think at the top you told us what type of law your firm does. Can you just clue us into that?
Yeah, well, we do a lot. We're primarily litigators, though we have a solid transactional department. Our biggest our biggest area is professional liability and ethics. So we defend professionals, we advise them on ethics and risk management. We do a lot of employment law. We do a lot of general liability. We do a lot of intellectual property. Those are some of our core practice areas. We do a lot of real estate litigation. Our transactional department does mergers, acquisitions, contracts, IP. There's things we don't do, so you don't nobody should really call themselves full service. It's like a bad idea from an ethics standpoint. I'm a professional ethicist. We don't do things like family law, but we do quite a bit in the litigation, the civil litigation arena.
Good, good. I think that's important for our listeners to hear that you really do a lot of different areas, because when you say you get clients from being a really good lawyer and showing them that you can solve their problems, and then the
Yeah,
work will come there. Some people are like, well, it's a one and done kind of matter that I did for somebody. Well, it never really is, right? If you're a really good lawyer, whether the work comes from them or they refer you to somebody else, right?
right.
That's where the work can come from.
And the referrals are key. I mean, there are people here, myself, I put in this category. I'm the largest rainmaker in my firm out of 90 attorneys. A lot of it is just referrals. You do a good job and then, you're referred to somebody. We just had a firm retreat. I'll just tell you this story quickly. A young lawyer who started with us, another partner introduced me to a client, and I introduced the young lawyer to the client. And the young lawyer did this chart, or kind of like a flow chart, where he put the client on the top. He's now a 20+ year lawyer with us. He's been with us his whole career. And he showed how they referred him to somebody, and they referred him to somebody else, and they referred him to somebody else. And it's this huge chart. He developed, I mean, not his entire book of business, but like a good part of his book of business simply from that one introduction in the beginning. He's a superb lawyer, and he generated the referrals.
I love that you shared that story, because I worked with a woman at another firm who did the exact same thing, but her first client was her brother-in-law. And she was able to show, she was a corporate attorney, she was able to show how from that one piece of business, she really built her entire her entire career. So it's
Amazing.
great. So we should really promote doing flowcharts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's visually quite stunning when you put it together.
So I want to ask a final question to you, and this is related to the business of law. Lawyers didn't go to school like I did for a business degree, and yet they are running little businesses in amongst themselves. You're running a bigger business. Talk to me about what information is important for people that you want to promote to partner to gain, right? That's part one. And then part two is, what is the type of information that you expect the lawyers then who are partners to actually work with or understand in more detail as a partner?
It's such a good question. John Kleinden's like he has a business degree. So he started this firm not only as a lawyer, but as a businessman. And I'm pretty sure that's why 40 years later, we have the degree of success that we do. It's not enough to be a good lawyer as a partner. You have to be a business person, as you were just alluding to. What does that mean, though, in practicality? It means that you need to do things on the financial side. You need to be looking at your billing rate. You need to be looking at your collections. You need to make sure that whatever client you're looking at is a good client and a good fit for your model, and that you're not losing money off of the client. I'm sure you've seen that. Sometimes people will have clients and they're just doing the work and they don't even realize that they're not making money off that particular client because of the rates or the investment or whatever it may be. The other thing that you need to do as a lawyer and a partner in a law firm is you need to be, I think, attentive to um, I'm trying to think of how to put this, the retention within the law firm, right? One of the biggest, financial drains on a law firm is to have a lack of retention. People who cycle in and out and in and out. It's just, and it's bad for the clients, it's bad for morale. So if you're a partner and you're mentoring young associates, that mentorship and making sure that the associates are satisfied in the job and that they're inching their way up to partnership is actually a critical part of the management model, the financial model.
I'm so glad you said that, because I write, as you know, all the time
Yeah.
on these types of topics, and retention costs firms a lot of money. It really does. So, is there anything that you would like to share with our audience? Let's say they've made partner, and what would be your piece of advice to this newly minted partner?
Yeah, I come from a slightly different perspective than some. There's definitely discussions in the legal industry, like always be looking for the next thing, right? Like, and a lot of people, we're getting resumes now where people have been 5, 6 jobs, like, oh, gonna find that next job, and that next job will be where I become partner. I'm a big believer in another model, which may not be right for everybody, but if you found a place that makes you happy, buckle down and invest, right? So if you become a young partner and you think it's the right place for you, do they treat you well? Are you happy? Are you interested in the work? If those things exist, then, figure out what is your long-term plan at that firm and what are your financial goals? Look 10 years out, what do you want to look like as a lawyer in 10 years at that firm? And you need to have that in your head. And John Kleindienst always told us, if you write down your goals, so it's more than just in your head, you put it on a piece of paper. And I know you teach on this, Sharon. If you write down your goals and you project them out, and I'm suggesting 10 years in this instance, they're gonna come true if you put your mind to it and you regularly revisit it. So I would say to the young lawyers or new lawyers, they don't have to be young, who are entering partnership, figure out your long-term goal, write it down, revisit it often, and buckle down and make it happen. It's not going to be easy. This is a hard profession, and you know that, Sharon, certainly probably better than anyone, given the work and the people that you mentor and the people that you provide consulting services to. But I think that if you do it right, it can be fulfilling for you and your family and financially rewarding as well.
That's a great way to end this interview. I can't thank you enough, Heather, for spending the time out of your very busy schedule as the managing partner and number one rainmaker in your firm. I do appreciate the wisdom that you shared. I want to remind everybody that the Young Partners Accelerator, even though it's called Young Partners, it's not young as in age, but it's young as in career. So that's good clarification there. Young Partners Accelerator is October 20th and 21st. It's at the Gleacher Center in Chicago, which is part of the University of Chicago. And we would love to have you join us and hear from other wonderful thought leaders in the community. Again, Heather, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Sharon. It's a pleasure.